So, hi everyone, Tamara here. I have been looking at the event chart for Kelowna, and especially with the flooding that happened this weekend and having, or Monday, I guess, and having roads washed away and having a panic buying craze that resulted from that. Here, I got really curious and thought, well, what is going on with Kelowna's birth chart? So, a couple things first. One is that Kelowna is a colonial city. It's I know that it's not the be all end all for this area of land. It is a good way for us to understand what is developing and happening since 1905, which is the year that Kelowna became Kelowna. And it's helping us to understand what the fate in some ways of the city is. Of course, there's free will as well. So who is running this city plays a part in the fate and how this will all unfold. But I just found a few interesting things that I wanted to share. I wanted to state that this is the land of the Okanagan Silts people. This is stolen land. There's ramifications for that and reconciliation that can happen and occur deeply over the next 2 years with the South Node shifting into Scorpio, which is really coming back to the land and what is underneath the land and the ancestors of the land. And so it's with great joy that I present this kind of information in a way that is saying reclaim the wisdom of the original wisdom of the land by turning to the Indigenous for their expertise in all of this. And just knowing that I'm exploring this amazing book called Decolonizing Wealth. I totally recommend it. It's just beautiful and really has helped me to see some actual steps to doing this on a financial basis, which needs to happen in Kelowna, I think. And there's a really handy workbook on the website as well that you can download and do as an exercise. So starting there would be a good idea. I'm going to share my screen here and I'm just going to explain some of my process. So I looked up, okay, when was Kelowna born, right? And it was May 4th, Thursday, May 4th, in 1905. And without knowing much more than that, in Wikipedia, I think it says May 5th. It doesn't really matter because what I'm really looking at is some of the more generational planets, some of the farther reaching planets, which would have been very close, whether it was one day or the next. I'm not looking specifically at rising sign, which is based on the time something was born. And, this is 12 p.m. This chart is 10 a.m., which is 2 hours earlier. I'm trying to think in 1905, what time did they come to work and sign the declaration for the city? And I thought, it's either 9 or 10. If they did come at 9 a.m. and get right to it, then this would be the chart. The 12 p.m., the noon, and the 10 a.m. times put the city as a Leo rising. So it would be the same thing regardless of time. So I'm just going to get rid of the 10 o'clock time. And the 9 a.m. time, if they were there and they were on the ball and doing all of that before, doing anything else on that day, it would make Kelowna a Cancer rising, which is interesting with Neptune in the first house. And, knowing all of the escapism that happens here, this definitely is interesting to me. But for today's purposes of being very general, I'm going to use the 12 p.m., the noon time, and assume that there was some sort of event that kind of happened to make this signing happen. I'm not going to base a lot of this on the rising sign, but what I do know is that a lot of the energy in Kelowna is Taurus based. And regardless of whether it was 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or noon, Taurus was in a very public sphere. It was either in the 10th house, right? The 10th house being the house of public image and career and legacy. Or, if it was at 9 a.m., it moves to the 11th house of community and the way in which the community here would develop. So either I think are good to use. Other astrologers might have a different viewpoint on that, but I'm going to use the noon time. Okay, so what I just wanted to express which I found very interesting, is that, so Kelowna then is a Taurus sun and a Taurus moon. If this is right, the rising sign is right, the MC, so how Kelowna will be known as a city is in Taurus. It's a Jupiter Taurus with almost a Sun Jupiter exact conjunction. Now they're both at 13 degrees Taurus, and a Mercury. Oh, Mercury is late Aries here, but Venus Taurus. Yeah, Venus Taurus. So there's a Taurus stellium happening for Kelowna. What are the themes of Taurus? Building, land, developing the land, assets and resources, what we have, money, financial success, agriculture. These are all themes that fall under Taurus. Taurus is the sign of the senses. It's the way we experience life through the senses. Taurus is all about the simplicity of senses. So it's like just that good chocolate bar or the good wine or the good meal. You know, this is all Taurus energy. And so seeing that all of these energies exist in Taurus for Kelowna was like, duh, that they do, and that this is truly Kelowna's mark. So Venus in Taurus wants to explore love and beauty and also magnetize a lot of money. There's so much money in Kelowna, right? Jupiter in Taurus wants to expand. Venus and Jupiter together in the same sign. I mean, that's just like a party. Do you know another city that throws parties like Kelowna? I mean, there's many others, but you know, Kelowna is a great party city. It's known for its parties, right? Kelowna having the sun here is like how it shines in the world, how it expresses to the world. There's so much development here. It's alarming, to be honest, but it is extreme. And that's how people are seeing Kelowna. And it's also, again, in agriculture. So all of those same things, love and beauty and expansion, and the way that Kelowna shines is through the agricultural realm, through the agriculture that's happening around here. So a lot of it is known for fruit and wine. And there's a growing organic and a growing regenerative community and culture around here. I mean, the organic has been here for a long time, but there's a really growing presence of that, as well as a few cooperatives in the surrounding Okanagan areas like Armstrong that then are organic co-ops. There's so much good food movement that's happening here. And this is really how Kelowna is supposed to shine. This is part of the innate mark of what this area is for. The moon sign in Taurus also expresses as like a city of stability, a city of consistency, a city of consistent growth, a city that's more emotional, inward, yin, receiving energy is around those same things. People coming here for finding stability in their own lives, which we're seeing in droves as other places collapse, as the coast becomes unclear. There's people moving here like crazy because it is drawing in people who are looking for that stability and consistency. And it's also like being able to explore the world through the senses. You know, can go out and hike any time of the year. You can go up to the mountains within half an hour and ski. You can have the after ski fun. You can, some days you can go up on the mountains and ski, and then you can come down and golf, right? And so there is this emphasis on food and wine and leisure here that totally lives in this Taurus archetype. But what's so interesting about what's happening in the sky right now is that Uranus has been transiting Taurus. So since 2018, Uranus has entered Taurus and is starting to disrupt the Taurus energy. Uranus doesn't love being in Taurus. Uranus is the planet of breakthrough. Uranus is the planet of revelation. Uranus is a very electrical, impulsive planet of out of the blue shock and awe that happens when we awaken to our highest self. So when Uranus was discovered in the 1700s, everyone thought Saturn was the end of the solar system, but it wasn't. Uranus literally blew all the scientists, all the astronomy and astrology communities that discovered, oh my gosh, there's another planet outside of Saturn, which led to many more discoveries. This blew people's minds. Uranus is the mind blower, okay? And Uranus is also the disruptor. Uranus in our chart represents where we experience change, upheaval, chaos at times, and disruption to the status quo. I have such a love for Uranian energy. I believe it's kind of like Albert Einstein energy, right? It's just like the mad scientist, the grandfather that's like eccentric, that's like, I don't care if this is going to zap you into reality, I'm going to open your mind. What we've been seeing globally with Uranus and Taurus is earthquakes, right? Taurus is fixed earth. Uranus is the quake inside of us that changes and disrupts and shifts things. And so having Uranus and Taurus has seen many, many earthquakes. It's seen disruption in our supply chains, disruption in our food, the way we grow food, the way we can grow food, seasonal changes, disruption in the economy. I think we are headed for something that's very significant as far as the economy goes, which all of us, can feel and know is happening. We've also seen this huge increase in cryptocurrency, right? Uranus is like this shock and awe, this new system that wants to come through on a financial level that's disrupting the status quo. So this Uranus and Taurus transit globally has been huge. But when you look from a Kelowna perspective, look at how many planets Uranus in the sky will go over in Kelowna. And as Uranus goes over Venus, there's a disruption and an awakening of what do we value? What do we love? What do we consider beauty that's happening? When Uranus transits over Jupiter, which Uranus in the sky right now is at 12 degrees Taurus, but he's retrograde. So he's actually already went to that 13-degree mark, that Sun-Jupiter conjunction, which is so beautiful and so affluent and so abundant. But when Uranus goes over that, it's like, what are you going to do with that? There is a responsibility in abundance and affluence. And when Uranus goes over there, it's like, great, Sun and Jupiter. Yeah, you want to bring all the riches. You want to create all this beauty. You want to develop the city. What is the responsibility for us to do this sustainably for the earth and for the people and for the land? Ultimately coming back to the land. Taurus is the land. And so how are we going to do this in a way that works in harmony with the land? Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is the planet of harmony, amongst many other things and many other stories of Venus. Venus also rules Libra, the plant, the scales, the sign of social justice, the sign of equality, the sign of harmony. And Libra here in Kelowna's chart is in the third house, which again, it could change a little bit, could be in the money realm, or it could be changing to the fourth house of home and family and foundation. But Libra is a more internal focus for Kelowna, that it has to come from a place of social justice. It has to come from a place of equality. And if we're not looking at how everyone is going to benefit, then it's not going to erupt and change and have that Uranian energy in a positive way. And we've been seeing some real chaos and destruction that's happening around here because we're not in integrity. Taurus is a sign of innate integrity. We need to be in integrity. And so this is just some astrological viewpoints of how this is coming alive in the chart. Uranus is still 5 years away from dipping over into Gemini. So we're still in the long haul of this. Uranus is a generational planet. It takes some time to go through a sign. It takes about 7-ish years to go through a sign. So we're in the just really the threshold of the 7-year cycle of getting to kind of the middle, to seeing what the real story is here. And there's a point next year when this North Node, okay, then the North Node in the sky is the collective Dharma. It's what we're all moving towards as a soul evolution. And there comes a time next year when the North Node moves to be in line with Uranus and Taurus, and it'll be happening right on that Sun-Jupiter conjunction. This is a great time in my mind to be in agriculture. If you are in integrity with the land, if you are sowing seeds with respect for all who have come to create the opportunity for you to be able to work with the land, if you are in respect of the Indigenous people who really are the proper inherent owners of the land, if you are doing the work of helping to decondition the beliefs inside of you that abundance looks like utter luxury, where there's 1% of the city where they get to live like the rich and high and mighty, and the rest of the city gets to suffer. If you are in integrity with your wallet and with the way you circulate wealth, if you are in integrity with abundance and the way that opening up your kitchen and your heart and your fridge to others is our surest way to actually cultivating the wealth in spirit that we are looking for as a community, then I think this is going to be a really good couple of years for you. That North Node going over all those planets could be like the break you've been waiting for to truly be in your integrity, to grow and build and do the things you need to do that shows that you have enough in the simplicity of what you have, and that you'll share what you have. You won't panic buy and get rid of, all the eggs on the shelf so that, the other people who need those eggs don't have any. Instead, this whole supply chain piece is asking us to look at our resources in the land. Find your farmers, right? Buy it from their place specifically. Go back to the local farmers markets and you won't be disrupted by a supply chain. You won't need avocados coming in from Mexico because you're going to choose to eat seasonally. You won't need to have, electronics from China because you are going to choose to live a life that's more outdoors, that's more based in, using and reusing and repurposing. And all of these things are huge themes collectively again right now because Venus is in Capricorn. Okay. And Venus in Capricorn is like, how can I reach into what has been working in my family, what skills my ancestry has, and what I can magnetize as resources to me through what, my parents or my parents' did. What did I learn from my ancestors? Capricorn is a very ancestral sign that will help me in these times. Can I bake bread? Can I make my own flour? Can I, instead of rushing out to the store, like really dig deep into my storage cupboard, or can I go to a neighbor and ask for an egg if I need an egg, as opposed to running out and buying a whole carton? Can I count on my community? Can I do what my ancestors did, but can I innovate it in a way that will awaken the next generation? Because Kelowna has the natal Uranus in Capricorn, retrograde, inwards awakening of what our ancestors did. So right now we need to reach out to people who know the simple life, who feel enough from simply what they have, who are not committed to living a life of lapping luxury. Okay, there's nothing wrong with having money and being able to buy the good things in life, but also making sure that there is enough for all, making sure that we take care of one another, making sure that we reach out with our hearts, our wallets to circulate wealth so that we can all rise in this time. There is an awakening in Kelowna that is waiting to happen around these themes. And it's so present in the chart. And the other thing is that by 2023, we're going to be moving into our Saturn return. This will be our third. Saturn return is about every 30 years. So our fourth, it'll actually be our fourth Saturn return. So this is something humans don't see, right? But we know, we all experience a Saturn return between the years of about 28 to 30, somewhere, around 55 to anywhere to 60. I can't do the math right now. Every 29-ish years, Saturn returns to the place it was when we were born. And Saturn moves into Pisces in March of 2023. And that's going to be a Saturn return. And that changes everything often. It changes it on a physical basis. It changes the structures of how we live. Saturn is very physical planet and puts boundaries and limitations on what isn't working to awaken us to our highest. And Saturn in Pisces is the ethereal. It's not a material realm. It's not having the most cars, having, the place at Big White and the place in town and the place at the lake and this and that. Not to say those things are bad, but it's what the feeling that comes from doing those things. It's the feeling of connecting with communities. It's the feeling of love that exists for humanity. And it's also, Pisces is the elder. So it's loving the elders of our community, looking to them for advice, for wisdom, tending them, helping them. So if you are buying all the eggs, how does the grandmother who's 75 years old go and get her eggs? We are a city that has the ask of Saturn to put this structure around our elders so that they are lifted up to transcend, to help us transcend, to help us be able to reach for that wisdom that comes at the end of life. And so that is a big part of Kelowna's path and purpose. Even if we change the date a couple days or the time a couple hours, that's not going to change. Saturn is here to say, how are you treating your elders? What's happening in long-term care homes to make them feel engaged, to make them feel loved and adored and respected? And how we treat our elders is how we treat our children, because the next sign is Aries. So how we treat our elders is very indicative of, in a society, of how the youth are going to feel and how the youth are going to come to have a reverence for life and for nature, right? Because as we respect our elders and they age and then they eventually pass on, we get this internal sense and appreciation and reverence for nature and for the natural cycle of life. And that gets passed down to our kids. And we want our kids of Kelowna to grow up to be good, solid kids who have a deep connection to nature, who are deeply connected to one another, who get this sense of enoughness, not from the things that they have here, but from being able to be in a community that lifts them up, that brings them together, and that makes sure that they know that they are part of this giant, beautiful cycle that includes not only their parents, but their parents' parents, their aunties, their uncles, and the whole cycle of nature that's humanity that lives within us. We are not outside of nature. Nature is us. And this chart to me just really called me to be like, speak this out loud. We have an opportunity in the next 2 years when the nodes shift and the North Node starts transiting Taurus and the South Node starts transiting Scorpio. We can heal a lot of the hurt and ancestral pain and grief and loss and sorrow that Kelowna doesn't really want to deal with. We have a lot of good rugs that we slip that stuff right under. We got a lot of big closets here where we push those skeletons. What's happening over the next 1.5 years or 2 years with the nodal shift is that those skeletons are going to come out of the closet. The things we've been running from are going to come out from under the rug. And all they're really asking for is for us to witness them, to be able to say to people, I don't really believe what you believe, but I still love you. I don't really agree with what you agree with. And yet I value that we can both have our own personal opinions about things. And I want abundance for all people. I want everyone to be thriving and in good health, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Because if everyone's in good health, guess what? Crime goes down, poverty, all of the things that come within mental health realms go down, addiction, recovery, all of those things get a chance to heal, and we collectively can lift this community to the absolute beauty and enoughness that lives in this Taurus archetype. My rant is over. I hope that some of that was beneficial for you. And if you're interested in more, you can check out our website, wildskysisters.ca.